Hello everyone and welcome back to Deciphering Weather. In today's video, we're going to go over the impacts Milton's going to bring to Florida this evening into the overnight hours, as well as what we could expect after Milton across the Atlantic Basin. If you like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and notification bell to get all of my upcoming videos. So we're looking at the latest satellite image of the Atlantic Basin thanks to tropicaltidbits.com for Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. The black arrows pointing towards Hurricane Milton on its approach towards the west coast of Florida. Purple arrow is Hurricane Leslie in the middle of the Atlantic. Then we have Disturbance 1 in pink, Disturbance 2 in blue off the coast of Africa, and then a tropical wave moving through the Turks and Caicos in red, which could become our next entity that we need to keep a close eye on as it gets into the Western Caribbean. Here's the vorticity signature, the spin and energy in the atmosphere associated with our tropical entities. And here is our close-up of Hurricane Milton, which now has been downgraded to a Category 3 hurricane, but do not take that as a good sign, because as this weakens, the wind field's going to increase, and that's going to increase our chances of seeing catastrophic storm surge across the west coast of Florida. So Tampa might be a little bit on the south side of this center of the storm now. So the storm surge threat there is decreasing the further south this tracks, but that does not mean you're anywhere out of the woods yet, because you're going to be on the northern end of that eye wall, which if there's still any debris left in the area after Helene, you're going to see some missiles moving through the air from all that debris with the high winds with a Category 3 hurricane. But with that wind field increasing, that again increases the storm surge threat even further south across southern Florida. Here's the latest forecast from the National Hurricane Center, showing Milton as a Category 3 moving northeast at 17 miles with 120 mile per hour winds, down from 160 earlier this morning. So it is rapidly intensifying, I guess you could say, as we speak, thanks to that high wind shear from the subtropical jet to its north. And you can see how that has happened over the last 24 hours, where we saw it strengthening last night back to Category 5 strength. And then as it got into the vicinity of Florida, rapidly started to decrease and unwind that wind field. So here's our radar view of the southeast United States, showing where Milton is heading and all the rain bands across Florida. So that's going to cause a large amount of flooding across the I-4 corridor in central Florida and just north of it. So high chance of flooding again in that pink zone, but also in the red zone on flanking each side. Now, as I said, we saw the wind field of this storm increasing as it's decreased from Category 5 to Category 3. But also as it moves north, and with that wind shear is also opening up this storm even further. So you can see how it was a very compact storm just north of the Yucatan Peninsula, and then as it moved north, it increased in size, and that causes the bigger threat of storm surge, not only on the west coast of Florida, but also on the east coast of Florida now. So southern Georgia through Jacksonville, all the way down past Cape Canaveral, we could see 3 to 5 feet on the east coast of Florida as well. On top of that, not only do we have this major hurricane getting closer to make landfall with Florida, you can see on this close-up view of the radar image the openness of the southern eye wall, which is an indicative sign of this weakening further. But all these rain bands coming in, they also have embedded supercells in them, and that's causing some tornadoes to occur across Florida. At one point, I saw 15 tornado warnings at one time, anywhere from central to South Florida. So the Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk in orange and slight risk of severe weather in yellow across much of central and southern Florida. So here's the key messages from the National Hurricane Center regarding Hurricane Milton. On the left is in English, on the right is in Spanish. You can pause this to take a chance to read it. Moving on, here's a close-up view of Hurricane Leslie, which is trying to reform its eye so that we can see a little bit more strengthening from this storm before it recurves out to sea and then weakens back to tropical storm and then extratropical towards the Azores Islands. It's got 90-mile-per-hour winds right now. Here is Disturbance 1, which earlier today had a good chance of developing, but now the wind shear is starting to really increase, so that low pressure system is not being able to sustain any thunderstorm activity near that low pressure system as it keeps blowing away. You can see that even better here on the visible satellite image, where the X is the low pressure system and then all the clouds to the right are our thunderstorms. So 30% chance over the next 2 and 7 days as it passes south of Bermuda. This one's going to be a tricky one, Disturbance 2, which is still over Africa, coming off the coast later on tonight into tomorrow. It's got a 10% chance of developing over the next 2 days and 10% over the next 7 days. But this one could also track all the way to the Caribbean islands over the next 10 days and be in a more favorable position out in the Western Caribbean, near Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles to develop than near the Cabo Verde Islands, where the National Hurricane Center is saying right now. I'll show you that in this video. Last but not least, we have that tropical wave moving through the Trinidad and Tobago Islands. And this is going to be the potential seed for our next storm in the Western Caribbean in about 7 to 10 days from now. So here's our GFS model, 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity, spin and energy of the atmosphere. Black is Milton, pink is Disturbance 1, purple is Leslie, blue Disturbance 2, and red our tropical wave. Upper level environment around the Caribbean, you can see that upper level ridge and all of our storms and tropical waves surrounding it. And that's going to create that wind shear, keeping that tropical wave as it enters the Caribbean from developing initially. A lot of dry air in that region as well. So two days from now, with the Bermuda Azores high rather weak, as Leslie goes around a weakened version of it in the middle of the Atlantic, our tropical wave will slightly slide right underneath that very slowly through the ABC Islands. Another up-level ridge will start to form on its eastern side, which will start to decrease the wind shear in this environment, allowing the moisture to rebuild up. So then we see a vorticity signature starting to form as it comes off the mountains of Venezuela and Colombia in the southern Caribbean. Millibar pressure low system of a 10 millibar low pressure system, I should say, in the southern Caribbean. We'll watch that low wind shear environment, ton of moisture as it interacts with the Central American gyre, and we see this start to interact. And as we know from Helene, from Milton, and also earlier this year with our other tropical systems like Beryl, these take a long time to consolidate into anything. So this is 5 days out. 7 days out, we start to see a little bit of vorticity max just to the east of Nicaragua. 1006 millibar potential tropical depression trying to form. You can see the upper level environment becoming much more conducive. We have that nice outflow in all directions, decreasing the wind shear, but just to the north, we have that subtropical jet. But that it's going to protect it right now, that upper level ridge, and keep that moisture bubble and all that dry air in the Gulf of Mexico to its north. So if it plays out like the GFS model is suggesting, we could have a tropical storm in the Gulf of Honduras in about 10 days from now on Saturday, October 19th. And then lo and behold, Disturbance 2, as you can see, is right between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, potentially as a tropical wave moving through. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, because if it gets into a favorable environment near the Western Caribbean, like this potential storm, anything is possible. So here's the Ensemble models over the next 10 days showing the support for our red tropical wave developing in the Western Caribbean could also form, as the GFS model suggests, on the Pacific side. So it's not just the Atlantic side that has to worry about it, Pacific side too. And we're not done yet, as we still have the rest of October to get through. It's on the decline, yes, but that means we're still in high activity, as if we were ramping up in the month of August. We're just ramping down, but still seeing a lot of potential storms could form. So the Global Tropic Hazards Outlook from the Climate Prediction Center is saying our main focus will remain in the Western Caribbean as we go through the month of October, which we can see on the models. So Helene will make landfall tonight somewhere south of Tampa. So Sarasota, Cape Coral, Fort Myers, you're going to see a ton of storm surge tonight. Central southern Florida, you're going to see tornado possibilities with those outer bands coming on shore. And then northern Florida and the I-4 corridor, you have a ton of rain to worry about. We'll watch our tropical wave as it moves through the Caribbean and develop maybe in the next 7 to 10 days very slowly. Leslie's moving out to sea and will weaken as it approaches the Azores. Disturbance 1 looking less likely to develop as it's increasing the wind shear. And then Disturbance 2 could be the next one if our tropical wave near Trinidad and Tobago doesn't develop in the Western Caribbean. We'll have to keep an eye on this sneaky one as it approaches the Caribbean islands if it develops. Next name on the list would be Nadine if any of these wanted to develop anytime soon. As a reminder, we have super thanks available on Deciphering Weather. I'd like to give out a shout out to Jay for donating to $10 yesterday's video, so thank you very much. And if you'd like to donate to my channel, please go down to the heart button where it says thanks. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button and leave a comment. Please share this video with your family and friends on social media. And if you're new and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and notification bell to get all of my upcoming videos. Thank you and have a great day. Be safe.